All right, here's the challenge. Can you get through the next minute and a half of listening to Ocasio-Cortez talk to you about just her amazing perspective of ethics and law as it relates to the punishment and criminality of Donald Trump?
Were part of a decade-long scheme overvaluing properties to defraud banks and insurers. The judge ruled in the AG's favor and handed over the massive penalty plus interest. Trump must now secure the $454 million bond for his appeal by tomorrow, or the state can try to target his assets. Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had this to say on CNN.
It is my belief that all people should be treated equally under the law. I actually think that there is risk in not seizing these assets and the open window that exists in him trying to secure these funds through other means. We've seen a lot of interesting transactions happening with Truth Social and other means, and there's a very real risk of political corruption. That is not about being a Republican. It is not about being a Democrat. It's about being an unethical and individual who is subject and prone to criminality. And unfortunately, this is the state that we're in.
Did you wipe your face already? The throw up, the vomit, and listening to that? It's so ridiculous. You could tell she can't. She doesn't even believe what she's saying. You know that because as she's talking, she has to close her eyes to the high points of the political talking points that she has to get across because somebody told her, make sure you hit all these bullets. All right? Unethical is criminalistic behavior. He's not been convicted of a crime. Well, they say he's been convicted of a crime. But, again, no victims, no evidence of fraud. It was just he overstated the value of his real estate to secure loans, paid back the loans in full, ahead of schedule, and they wanted to do more business with him. Nobody complained, bitched, or moaned. How is she even talking about these things? It's so unbelievable. If she says, like it's equal application of the law to all folks, right and left. Well, where's her saying like, well, if there's anything, if President Biden is tied to anything in terms of corruption to Hunter Biden, and Hunter Biden is tied to the CCP or has been found to have perpetrated criminal acts of collusion and working with the CCP, we'll go after him just as hard as we're going after Trump. Now, if she said that, I respect her. But even she doesn't believe everything that she's saying just by watching her talk to Jake Tap Out. It's so ridiculous. But let's go back into this next little gem that I have for you.
The jury that matters the most is the American people on Election Day. And Joe Biden is going to take it to Donald Trump and whoop him where it matters.
Oh, they're going to whoop Donald Trump. Remember the last time they said they didn't take Trump seriously and they were going to whoop him? Remember?
There's not going to be a President Donald Trump. That's not going to happen.
Donald Trump will not become president.
He's not going to be president. Donald Trump is not going to be president of the United States. Take it to the bank.
Okay.
I guarantee it.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
He will never be president of the United States.
And we better be ready for the fact that he might be leading the Republican ticket next.
I know you don't believe that, but I want to go on.
You're not going to be president, all right?
How quickly the left forgets how they mocked, teased, and made fun of Trump, and then came out on top, hand on the Bible, president of the United States. But they just keep going after him, and that is the thing. They really do think that maybe he could win. So all they're doing is trying to pile up indictments. As you know, you can indict a ham sandwich, as the saying goes. So they just keep attacking him on all these fronts in Georgia for election interference and these indictments and these big, cash awards against him for fraud. how are they producing fraud? I don't know. Let's listen again and talk about where's the fraud.
People can take note that Donald Trump is out on bail right now, and he's trying to find bonds. And while we're talking about how he's going to do that, people should not forget the reason why he's out on bail is because he has 88 federal criminal indictments pending against him.
All right, Jason Chaffetz, does this strategy work as far as painting Donald Trump as a criminal? Therefore, he should not be president of the United States in 2024.
Democrats can keep doing this to their own political peril. There is no victim here. The banks got paid in full. The bank's not complaining about it. There is nobody that's out there. So what did Donald Trump do other than be Donald Trump? You have an attorney general who pledged every day she was going to go after a person, not a crime, after a person. That is not justice in the United States of America. The more they do that to Donald Trump, the more they realize, you know what? Democrats have stepped far too far. They've gone way too overboard in this. Donald Trump is a political victim in an election year, and I believe it's election interference. There's no victim here.
You know, we're living in crazy times. If you can be brought up on charges and indicted and, you know, irrespective of no indication that you intentionally defrauded anybody and that you could still be brought up in these charges and found guilty and then excessively fined, penalized as a result of these phony charges. Again, as Trump says, you got to ask yourself the question, if it could happen to him, what could they do to you? Now, at least CNN did paint out a little bit of a picture of what happens when somebody actually perpetrates crimes and is brought up on charges of possession of a gun when you shouldn't be because you're a drug felon and you obviously have ties to communist and Russian companies with potential malfeasance that could bring our enemies right here to the shores, and that there was potential and likely collusion and earnings for a guy who really doesn't have much in the way of skill and knowledge of energy, being on the board of Burisma and getting $1 million a year. God knows what skills he had. So it's always the, don't look at this. We want you to look at this instead. The best tactics that the left presents to us. Let's look at actual criminality in Hunter Biden.
Charges because the court documents are not yet public. Just a few weeks ago, we broke the news that the special counsel appointed to investigate the president's son, David Weiss, has been using a Los Angeles-based grand jury to gather evidence about Hunter Biden's finances, specifically his taxes. Now, going back to 2018, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney has been investigating Hunter Biden's finances. Hunter Biden repeatedly missed IRS deadlines to pay his taxes and eventually owed around $2 million. Anderson, he did pay back what he owed, including $800,000 in penalties and fees, and this was all expected to be resolved as part of a plea deal, where he would plead guilty to 2 misdemeanors. But over the summer, that plea deal fell apart. The U.S. Attorney David Weiss was then appointed a special counsel, and the investigation was revived. Now, the special counsel has already filed 3 gun charges against Hunter Biden in Delaware. Now, Hunter Biden's lawyers insist that here the special counsel is bowing to pressure from Republicans to charge the president's son with something. They do not believe that a criminal trial is the proper venue for these allegations, and they're confident on the gun charge that they will prevail at trial. Anderson, again, is unclear exactly what charges have been filed in Los Angeles, but they previously told me that they believe if they bring this tax case, not as a plea deal, but as a criminal trial, that they will win.
Now, is Hunter Biden guilty? Well, no, he's innocent until proven guilty. But when you have the laptop from hell that shows him and his pervasive drug use and being with prostitutes, and Tony Bobolinsky having texts of their conversations back and forth and how he's tied into people that are connected to the CCP, and there are Chinese monies that are moving through these companies into shell companies, and checks are then being dispersed to folks in the Biden family, and you have copies of these checks and you see all these text messages. Well, the writing is on the wall there that there is criminality, right? Potential criminality resulting in that he should be then charged, indicted, and punished for those things. Victims and crimes. But innocent till proven guilty. But I'll tell you though, when you look at all of it and you actually see the political strategy and the lawfare that is currently taking place in the country, you really got to start worrying at what point does the banana republic go off the rails, no different than Rome or Greece or the Ottoman Empire or any great society in all of human history. Are we immune? I guess to be continued.